Former Minister of Petroleum Resources Diezani Maduke has appeared before the Southwark Crown Court in London, United Kingdom for the preliminary hearing of a bribery charges trial. Preliminary proceedings, including technical matters and jury selection, began this week with the former minister in attendance. The 65-year-old has been on bail since she was first arrested in London in October 2015. She's denied 6 charges against her. She was formally charged in 2023 by the UK's National Crime Agency with offences of accepting bribes between 2011 to 2015. Joining me now is law lecturer, University of Hull in the United Kingdom, Dr. Misbau Lateef. Dr. Lateef, thank you for joining us on the news tonight. This trial has been on for nearly a decade now. From a UK legal standpoint, how strong do you think the prosecution's case is as it stands based on what we know from the indictment?
Well, good evening, Nifemi. Like you said, the case has been long for some time now. And talking about the what this might eventually, come out to be. I mean, the legal system here is such that the basic rule of thumb is don't get caught. So when people are caught, it's always almost impossible, to get off the hook. And the fact that this has taken this long because they had to gather evidence, according to what the prosecution has put out so far, this is a case that has international dimension. They had to, go through documentation, trace property from London to America to New York and some other part, and even in Nigeria. I mean, there has been collaboration between the EFCC and the prosecution in the UK. So from what we know, I mean, this is something that is quite watertight, and that regardless, I mean, the defendants will now have a day in court, or 3 of them, they will have their day in court. And I think whatever will happen at the end of the day will depend on what the jury thinks. This is a jury system where when the case eventually goes on trial, the jury, this 12-member jury, will have to listen to facts, and then the judge will preside, and then all of this will be put together. So the outcome is something we cannot really speculate now, but I can say what we have seen, that in this part, again, the rule is you don't get caught. Once you are caught, it's always difficult to get off the hook.
She was first arrested in October 2015, but only formally charged in 2023. Why do complex corruption cases like this take so long to reach trial in the UK? And does the delay in any way weaken or strengthen the case against her?
Well, I think a number of factors are responsible for this, and you have mentioned one of them. The most significant factor here is the complexity of the case, as I understand it. This is actually a money laundering, international crime, with web of connection across different jurisdictions. As I mentioned earlier, London, Nigeria, New York, and other parts of the world. So the complexity is one significant factor for delay. And that's the question of, a point of fact. The other one is also that the courts in the UK are also overwhelmed, just like their counterparts in Nigeria. So sometimes it takes time for cases, to move up the docket, to get to hearing. So they have other cases they also have to attend to, and for that purpose, it takes a lot of time. But again, I think the investigation is the most significant aspect here. It has taken a lot of time from what we know to actually put the evidence together. And that's what eventually culminated into what happened yesterday. The preliminary review, when the judge had to sit down to consider the evidence that might be allowed to go in, all the technicality things that, like you mentioned earlier, all of those are now sorted, and the case will proceed into proper hearing from the 26th of January this year, and for the next 10 or 12 weeks. So the question again is that once cases are proceeded to hearing like that, it takes, a quicker or faster, period for them to be settled. And that's one fantastic or unique, aspect of their system in this part. Once the trial is started, then you can be sure that within no time, they are concluded within the time agreed on in the pre-trial conference.
Dr. Lateef, on a lighter note, perhaps it brings some relief to many Nigerians that lengthy litigation is not only a Nigerian thing, that it can happen in the UK too. But much of the alleged wrongdoing happened while she was a Nigerian minister. Yet the trial is holding in London. What gives UK authorities the legal right to prosecute this case with calls for repatriation and what have you? But precisely how important is the money trail and use of UK properties in establishing jurisdiction?
Okay, thank you. Let me start on that your lighter note. I actually also thought of that. The truth is that criminal trial can take a lot of time. And this challenge of sometimes dragging the case is not peculiar to Nigeria, except that our home case is peculiarly, I would say, complicated. But that said, yes, the connection with UK here again is the international dimension of this crime. You see, some of the crime were committed because some of the fraud, as alleged by the prosecutor, were done through banks in London. Some of the properties were also acquired in London. I mean, church property in London, church property in New York and other parts of the US. So all of this, they brought international dimension to the case. And for that purpose, the UK court, of course, has what we call territorial jurisdiction over some of these allegations of crime. And of course, the Bribery Act of 2010 of the UK, under which she was charged, and the other defendant, quite covers all of this in the sense that she was alleged to have accepted, cash gifts. People who actually literally stole from Nigerian fund, she swapped all deal contracts, and then she got a luxurious lifestyle, funded from some of this kickback or bribe.
Well, perhaps in the future we'll talk about whether or not this will open the door to asset recovery, or it's mainly or strictly a UK prosecution. But that's our time. Law lecturer, University of Hull in the United Kingdom, Dr. Misbau Lateef, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you, my pleasure.